Okay, so I want to start today with a very specific image.
Okay.
I don't just want you to picture the 90s. I want you to picture Will Smith.
Right, but which Will Smith? The,
Wow.
tuxedo-wearing movie star of today.
No, not at all. I want you to picture the Fresh Prince.
Ah, okay. Got it.
He's bouncing into the Banks family living room in Bel-Air. And, the walls are all beige, the furniture's expensive and stiff.
And Carlton is definitely wearing a pastel sweater vest.
Exactly. The ultimate symbol of that preppy establishment look. But then you have Will.
And he is a complete contrast.
A complete contrast. He's wearing something that just clashes with that entire room. It's loud, it's oversized.
Yeah, those bold geometric graphics.
Right. Maybe some Pan-African colors, the red, black, green. It's not just clothing. It's an announcement.
It was visual storytelling. You knew immediately that Will represented a completely different culture than the one he just walked into.
Right. And for years, I just thought of that as the Fresh Prince look. I figured it was, the costume department just throwing stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
But today, we're going to find out those iconic looks. They weren't random at all. They came from a very specific place. Today, we are doing a deep dive into New Heritage brand.
Often just called New Heritage. And you're right, it's so easy to just dismiss this as, retro fashion.
Totally.
You see 90s nostalgia everywhere. But what we're unpacking today, it's not just a trend. It's the story of a family business that dressed the biggest cultural icons of a decade.
And then it kind of disappeared. And now it's clawing its way back with a very specific mission.
Exactly.
See, that's where I usually get a little skeptical, because we see brand revivals all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, private equity firm buys an old logo, slaps it on a cheap T-shirt, sells it at a big box store. It just feels hollow.
And that is precisely why this story is different. This isn't some corporate buyout. This is a story about lineage. It starts in 1988 with a husband and wife. It goes through the absolute stratosphere of Hollywood and then lands in the hands of their niece today. It's so personal.
So let's rewind. Take us back to 1988. I was barely alive, so paint the picture for me. What was the vibe?
Well, 1988 is a really pivotal year. Hip-hop is just exploding out of the underground, hitting the mainstream, and with the music came the look.
Right.
So you had these designers, Cynthia, Belinda, Wells-Jones, and Rodney Jones, a husband and wife team, and they launched New Heritage right as this cultural wave was cresting.
And what made their stuff stand out? Because there were other brands doing streetwear then, right?
There were, for sure, but New Heritage had a very specific aesthetic. When you look at the old photos, you see it right away. It was not subtle. We're talking bold graphic designs,
Okay.
thick, heavy cotton, that kind of sweat gear quality that you just don't find as much anymore.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. That heavyweight fabric where the hood of the sweatshirt actually stands up on its own.
Yes, exactly that, and snap hats. But it was more than the quality, it was the design language. It used African aesthetics, bold text, and clear messaging.
So what was the message?
Well, their stated mission wasn't just look cool, it was explicitly to showcase appreciation of African American culture and promote Black awareness.
Promote Black awareness. That's a pretty heavy mission for a clothing line in the late 80s.
It really is.
I feel like today brands are either super careful with their messaging or they kind of perform activism because it's trendy. But back then,
it was a risk, but it was also a rallying cry. You have to think about the context. This was an era where Black culture was fighting for screen time, fighting for recognition.
so wearing a New Heritage shirt wasn't just a fashion choice.
No, it was a signal. It said, I'm part of this. I'm proud of this.
It turned the wearer into a walking billboard for the culture.
Precisely. And that authenticity is probably why it just caught fire so quickly. They weren't chasing a trend. They were helping build it. And that brings us to the explosion, because the list of people who started wearing this gear is, frankly, ridiculous.
It really is. I was looking through the timeline, and it reads like the lineup for the greatest comedy show ever. You've got Martin Lawrence, Chris Rock, the Wayans Brothers.
The Wayans family is a huge connection there. You have In Living Color, which came out in 1990.
I want to pause on In Living Color for a second. For anyone listening who might be a bit younger, can you explain why appearing on that show was so different from, say, being on Seinfeld?
Oh, a huge difference. In Living Color was the counterculture. It was raw, unfiltered. It had hip-hop performances. It launched the careers of Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx.
It was the show you watched to know what was actually cool.
Yes. So for new heritage to be featured there, that wasn't just product placement. That was a stamp of approval from the culture itself.
That's credibility. You can't buy that.
You really can't. And then, of course, there's the big one. The Jew 8, as they call him in this context.
Will Smith.
The Fresh Prince.
The Fresh Prince.
Yeah, we touched on it, but the extent is just wild. He wore new heritage in multiple episodes, all the way from 1990 to 1996. And you think about that visual contrast we mentioned.
Will Heritage is in a bold new heritage tee, standing next to Uncle Phil in a three-piece suit.
It emphasized the whole conflict of the show, the street versus the elite.
The clothes were doing the work.
Exactly. The brand became shorthand for authentic Black urban identity. And because that show was everywhere, globally, New Heritage wasn't just reaching kids in Brooklyn, it was reaching kids in London, in Tokyo.
And then you have Martin.
Another massive pillar. Martin Lawrence's show was maybe even more influential on street style because it was a bit grittier, more grounded in Detroit.
And Living Single,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I will defend to the death as the true blueprint for Friends.
Oh, absolutely. No question. The whole setup, Living Single did it first, and New Heritage was there too, dressing the cast.
So they basically had the big four of 90s Black sitcoms. Fresh Prince, Martin, Living Single, and The Cosby Show. It is complete and total saturation.
It is. They effectively dressed an entire generation of television. But here's the thing about fashion, especially streetwear, it's cyclical.
And it's often tied to the creators.
It is. And this brings us to the harder part of the story. Because Cynthia and Rodney Jones, the founders, they passed away.
Right.
And usually when the founders of a brand like this die, the brand dies with them. Or, like you said, it gets sold off to some conglomerate that just churns out nostalgia bait.
Which is what I assumed happened when I first saw the name pop up again. I
Yeah.
thought, okay, here we go, another cash grab.
But it's not. And this is the twist that makes the story so compelling. The brand is now owned and operated by Tamira Wells,
Denise?
the niece of Cynthia and Rodney. She grew up watching what they built, she admired it, and she decided to pick up the torch herself.
That changes the energy completely. It's not a board of directors looking at quarterly projections.
No, it's family.
It's family.
And that preserves the integrity. But what I find so fascinating is that Tamira didn't just copy and paste the old strategy. She actually evolved the mission.
How so?
Well, think about the language. In 1988, the mission was about appreciation and awareness. It was about saying, hey, we are here, see us.
Okay.
Tamira's modern mission is to inspire us all to know and ultimately build your own heritage from generation to generation.
Build your own heritage. That's an action. It's active.
It is. It's a shift from look at our history to what are you going to leave behind? And that ties directly into their current slogan, which I think is brilliant.
Which is?
Legacy in every stitch.
Legacy in every stitch. That is good branding.
It's good branding because it's true. When you buy a piece from them now, you aren't just buying a hoodie. You're buying into a story that has survived death, survived the crazy changes in fashion, and is still Black-owned and family-operated.
But, nostalgia can only get you so far. You can't just sell the same shirt Will Smith wore in 1992 forever.
Right.
You have to be relevant now. And the media landscape is totally different. There's no monoculture like the Fresh Prince anymore. It's all streaming.
It is, and this is where Tamira's strategy is really smart. She's finding the modern equivalents of those 90s shows.
I saw that. They were on Netflix on Astronomy Club.
Which is a sketch comedy show. And in so many ways, it's the spiritual successor to In Living Color. It's smart, culturally specific, just hilarious.
Now, the placement was so intentional. It was in an episode called For the Culture, and it was produced by Kenya Barris.
And Kenya Barris is the guy behind Black-ish, Grown-ish. I mean, he is arguably the most important producer in Black television right now.
So having him involved is a huge signal.
It's a signal that you are still part of the conversation.
They also popped up on BT's Boomerang.
Which is a reboot of the classic Eddie Murphy movie from the 90s.
The layers here are making my head spin. It's like a multiverse of Black pop culture.
It really is, but it shows consistency. In the 90s, they were on the show Martin. In the 2020s, they're on a show based on a movie from the 90s. They're bridging that generational gap perfectly.
And on Boomerang, it wasn't just an old design, right?
No, it was the New Heritage X for My Girls collab hoodie, a collaboration.
So they're not just re-releasing old stuff, they're bringing new artists in.
Exactly. That's how you keep a heritage brand from becoming a museum piece. You invite new voices in to remix the legacy.
Okay, we've talked history, Hollywood, philosophy. But let's talk about the actual gear. If I go to their website now, what am I seeing? Is this like luxury pricing? Are we talking a $500 t-shirt because it has heritage attached?
That's the surprising part. No, it's actually very accessible. If you look at their core line, the Know Your Heritage collection, it's priced like, well, like streetwear used to be.
Give me some numbers.
So the Know Your Heritage t-shirt starts at around $55. The cuffed beanie is $35.
Okay, so that's not fast fashion, cheap, but it's not high fashion exclusive either. It
No.
feels attainable.
It's attainable. And I think that's strategic. If your mission is to inspire us all, you can't price out the very community you're trying to inspire.
And I saw one item that it made me laugh, but it also kind of touched me. The onesie.
The Know Your Heritage onesie.
Yes. For $30, you can get a onesie for a baby that says, Know Your Heritage.
It's adorable, but think about the implication. They are taking the from generation to generation part of their mission literally.
It's cradle-to-grave branding.
It is. But it also speaks to that family aspect. Tamira is running this because of her aunt and uncle, so it makes sense she'd create products for families. You get the sweatshirt for you, the onesie for your kid. You're matching, but you're also passing down a message.
And the design itself, the Know Your Heritages line.
It's very clean, usually block text, bold, very legible. It's not hiding. It's reminiscent of those old political slogan tees, but with a modern, clean typography. Looks great on camera, which, as we've learned, is the brand's secret weapon.
It really is. You know, as we unpack this, my initial skepticism was just totally misplaced. This isn't just about selling clothes.
It never really was, even back in 1988.
It feels like a case study in resilience. You have the founders, Cynthia and Rodney, with this bold idea. They succeed beyond their wildest dreams. They pass away. And then Tamira steps in to make sure that story doesn't just end.
And that is so rare. Think about how many brands from the 90s, brands we all wore, are just gone.
Right.
Or they just exist as a vintage tag on eBay.
Right.
New Heritage is still here, still producing, still on TV.
It's the difference between a trend and a legacy. A trend burns out. A legacy is something you have to build and protect.
And I think that's why the Know Your Heritage slogan lands so hard. It's a challenge. It's asking the person wearing it, okay, you see our legacy. You see what Will Smith wore. You see what Tamira's doing. What are you doing?
That's a heavy question for a sweatshirt to ask.
It is, but that's the power of fashion. It's the skin we choose to show the world. It can just be fabric or it can be a statement.
It really makes me think about how we consume things now. We're in this era of ultra-fast fashion. We buy stuff that's meant to be worn twice and then thrown away.
A disposable identity.
Disposable identity.
Right.
I like that. But New Heritage is offering the exact opposite of that. It's offering something permanent.
It's offering roots. In a world that feels so transient, where everything is digital and fleeting, wearing something that connects you to 1988, to a family, to a cultural movement that grounds you.
So here's my question for you listening. When you get dressed tomorrow morning, just look at the label on your shirt. What's the story behind it? Is it the story of a factory? Or is there a legacy stitched into it?
And if you wore something that asked you to build your own heritage, how would that change the way you walk into a room? Would you walk in with a little more of that Fresh Prince confidence?
I think we could all use a little more of that energy.
Absolutely.
So whether you're rocking the beanie or the onesie, know your history.
Yes.
Thanks for diving deep with us today on New Heritage Brand.
It was a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one.